everyone, for all the people who tuned into our online live streaming. I'm really happy to be sharing this panel with some of the key experts and the key ecosystem players in Dubai. In this panel, we're going to be talking about starting up in the music industry and the available resources, challenges, and things to keep in mind for any talent or any music entrepreneur who want to pave their own journey. To introduce myself, I'm Diala Daoud, the co-founder of Launch DXB, one of the partners in hosting this event. Our role is to support all emerging entrepreneurs in their journey in setting up their businesses in Dubai, helping them connect with different resources of mentors, talents, community members, and various stuff. On this panel today, we have Mackie from Makki Entertainment. We have Mark from Anghami, and we have Thomaz from N5 Dubai. I would like to start by giving you some time to reflect on what you do, what is your background, and how you support talents in the music industry in Dubai and UAE in general.
Okay, so very nice to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Thomaz. I work for N5, which is a business incubator, one of the first ones that we had here in the UAE. N5 actually works across 3 different industries: tech, design, and media. Media being the more relevant to the conversation today. So as a business incubator, what our role is to provide early stage startups with the basic setup that they need to help them fast track their initial phase of growth. So in that sense, we provide them with the basic business support. So when you need to establish your own company, when you need to have your own business license, your visa, in order to conduct your business on a daily basis. We provide them a lot of opportunities for networking, both within our community and with other stakeholders in the industry. And we also facilitate conversations with investors for your business. And throughout the year, we have a number of sessions more targeted at talent development in the sense of workshops, talks, network gatherings. We invite professionals. At N5 Media, we've been hosting for a year now, once a month. We try to keep it once a month. A jam night session for musicians to come, to enjoy the place, to play together, get to know each other. So we try to provide the basic infrastructure around them.
Hi, my name is Mark. I work for Anghami. I look after artist and label marketing. I've been with Anghami for around 6 years. Anghami was founded in 2012 by 2 Lebanese founders, Eli and Eddie. And now we cater music around the MENA region for international Arabic, and obviously the rest of the languages, Bollywood, Pinoy, and most of the content, basically. We cater across, our biggest markets are Saudi, Egypt, UAE, Lebanon. I mean, most of you probably know about the service. What I do at Anghami is I look after artist marketing and label relationship to expand opportunities for artists in this market, specifically in markets where there are no labels available, or in markets where we have contact with label directly. We've been growing year on year. This year, 2019 was our biggest year. That's it, basically. That's a summary about what we do.
Hi, my name is Mackie from Makki Entertainment. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who had us here, made this possible. First of all, as people know, that I just go with the artists, bring international artists to Dubai and Middle East, trying just to, just go with the market need and see what the venue's, asking for. And definitely it's completely business, but I'm just trying to, be involved where I can, help entertain people here in Dubai, Middle East, and bring the maximum, benefit to everyone.
Starting with the basics, whenever someone has a business idea or they want to start with their own talent and to start actually in UAE or in Dubai, what is your basic advice for them? Where should they start? What they should think about first, and how they can move with actually having a business setup, so to speak, about their own music industry or something related to music industry, or about even starting something for their own talents all in all. So where they should start and what they should think about in the first step as they move forward. You can lead on that.
Okay. Well, I think It's a bit of a difficult question to answer, actually. But I think if we take from a business perspective, because when we see this a lot working with design and media, when we work with creative professionals or professionals from the creative industries, there's always a question of differentiation between you as an artist and you as a business owner, right? And a lot of the skills between these two worlds, they're counterintuitive to each other. So people who are very that come from a very strong creative background, they usually tend to overlook or not be that much business aware or business acumen to that sense. So that puts them on a kind of a, you can say many times on a vulnerable position. So you're trying to do a business, but you're trying to run a business the same way you run your artistic or creative activity. And those are completely different things. So I think the first thing is to understand you as an upcoming artist, be that from whatever creative field you're coming from, is to understand that if you're going into a business venture, in the end of the day, you need to be a business. And you need to function as a business, as any other business would function. The only difference is the product that you're selling is a bit different. So obviously, each industry has its own specificities, but in the day, you need to be up and aware that you will be facing invoice generations, that you will be facing legal contracts, that you will be facing P&L tables, all those more bureaucratic things that are not exactly under the radar of those who come from a very strong creative background. So with that consideration in mind, understanding that if you are to become a business, you're going to have that part taken care of. I guess the best advice that we try to pass it on is that if you don't want to take care of that yourself, find somebody who can work with you. Find somebody who can be your partner. Find somebody who you can offer maybe a share of your company to help you take care of that portion. If you're not well versed on that, or if you don't want to take care of that, hire a consultant because it doesn't look like, but the sooner you get your business, the basics of your business up and running, that actually allows you to move much faster in terms of generating revenue. And as a company, in the end of the day, you're going to need revenue. You need to pay your employees. You need to pay your dues and everything like any other business. So it's a matter of understanding how much you personally, how much aware you are of the business side of whatever you're trying to do.
Commenting on that, don't you think that an artist should think from business perspective as they go? At the end of the day, an artist is somehow like a startup. So they have many things to take into consideration and to keep things for their long-term projections and operations. They should think about marketing, they should think about budgeting, legalities, and everything all in all. So from that point of view, where do you think the support should actually come from? And what types of support do you actually offer such people who want to start up with a business set up in Dubai through their own arts?
I think for us as Anghami, we always trying to on the music side, we're trying to educate on how artists should start up their business in a way the way they want to generate money, or the way they need to work as a collaborative artists together, to not individually to become as a brand. So many people just start as an artist and they keep working individually, which is they struggle on the long run, coming up with ideas or finding ways to crack markets. So we always try and educate them or give them access to our tools to look into where they can expand as in their reach, which markets are good for them. And then personally, I always talk to artists on how they need to find people to help them out on the business side if they don't have the business vision or the marketing vision, because in some place or some artists, they still don't have this package that helps them grow beyond here in the market, beyond this market to go internationally, or start getting approached by brands which mostly invest in them on the long run. So the problem with some artists is they struggle to find their way to get to this place, or to get to a level where people are actually coming and investing in them because they don't find the right people to work for them or to work with them as manager or marketing, or which eventually it's gonna generate them money on the long run, doing gigs, offline gigs, generating money on the streaming side, getting approached by brands to invest in them and make this money, which they need to convert into marketing or, a teamwork to pay them to get on the next level.
Okay. In terms of, like, as you were saying, it's really like much needed to have people on board who can support you throughout your journey. But unfortunately, we know that many people who are just starting up, they lack on resources and mainly on financials. So for many people, they get challenged to actually hire people on board, from agencies to promoters to anything like that, who can support them throughout their journey. So what is your advice about going around this? How can they actually seek support and resources without them being able to, like, pump in money, or being they are actually even limited on money resources?
First of all, we definitely trying to bring the international arts, but lately I started bring those talents that I'm trying just to take into the corporate scene. As like 2 weeks ago, I brought artists from Middle East, Sido Simba and Mars, and we tried just to connect them to the companies like Anghami and Spotify, TikTok, and I forgot the third company. But the main point is we're trying just to help the artists to grow in terms of marketing and branding. Those companies help us, to help the artists grow in a way that we can benefit, build the relationship in the long run, and definitely in the same time, give the artist the exposure that it can help you to, let the venues to request those artists again and again and again.
Well, I think for those who are starting, it is important to understand that it's not, like any other business, not an easy way up, right? You have to put a lot of effort into it. You have to put a lot of passion into it. However, from the other side of that coin is that today you actually have access to much more tools than you would have in the past. So if we look at the recent history of the music industry, from Napster to today, we're talking about 30 years. That's like nothing, right? It's very, very little time for the amount of changes that happen in the music business worldwide, right? And today, actually, independent artists, they have access, immediate and free access to a number of tools that can help them and support them in this initial phase, let's say. I would echo our friends here saying that please interact with each other. There is power in numbers. So when you see any market that is bustling or that is very effervescent in the music industry, it's a common point that you have many musicians gathering or artists gathering throughout the year, be that for the purpose of making money or be that for the purpose of just hanging around with your friends and play something cool. But that interaction is always there, right? You see that on the jazz era, you see that on the rock era, you see that on the electronic era. So it's all it repeats, right? There's power in having the numbers. There is power in interacting with other people who are doing things that are similar to what you're doing, because that leads to evolution, right? That leads to becoming achieving a better result, and that is beneficial to everybody in this sense. And then leverage on the tools that you have available to you. You don't necessarily need to have $1 million on day one, right? You can build a successful career without actually spending that much in the beginning. We know that for musicians it's always tricky, especially you have to invest a lot in equipment in the beginning of your career. Musical instruments are expensive, DJ sets are expensive, so these are not exactly easy things to achieve. However, you do have many tools around you that can actually help you in that.
So for example, talking about tools, I know that you, Anghami, and also in Five, you have like studios that entrepreneurs and people starting up in the music/media industry, they can benefit from. So can you tell them about the different services you offer? And please, Mackie, if you have any services also people can benefit from free, if we can also highlight these for them.
Yeah, actually, the word free is very important, because so many people think about Anghami, uploading music on Anghami is not free. So we have the tool for every artist to upload their music and then monitor their music. They have access to all their data, and then the same way you access any other social media platform, you can start seeing your data, you can start seeing your audience and the age group, and then in which countries you're geo-targeting, which countries you're growing in. We have this access to all, the artists will have access to all this data, and it's free. The challenge is the way to work around it, and then creating something different to shine in specific countries. So I see a lot of copying, if you want to say. There's no originality all the time in this market, which is, to be honest, it's challenging because you have a lot of artists coming out in this market, in this region, and everybody wants to become international before becoming famous, if you want to say here. And then I think that's why, if you want to, I don't want to say it that way, but I just feel like that's why most of the event companies are still looking at bringing international audiences, or sorry, bringing international artists as the first option, then looking at the local artists. They don't support local artists in the beginning, and then, oh yeah, we need to get someone international. So because they're looking at selling, of course, and all of that, but again, online we invest a lot in those artists and push them a lot to shine in different markets, so to crack in the different markets, whether UAE or any other country around here, looking at their data and see how they're expanding, and then we push them in specific countries. But I feel like there's a lot of gap on the offline also that is not getting this investment through companies to give this platform where people can actually start generating money from the other side. We offer a lot of collaboration with brands right now. Like we start working on content monetization, where a lot of brands are interested in working with local artists and artists that are coming out like from this market. But again, we're working around originality, something that is different than what's happening in the market, which is help them in a way surface this industry, surface this market and tap into new audiences through brands and through campaigns. So yeah, the tool is available, and then it's free, and then they can go and see their data and access all the numbers they want.
Well, at In5 Media, we actually have studios available for bookings. They are all subsidized costs, so the cost is really reduced. So if you're looking to, recording your first tracks or trying to create your first bits of content, In5 actually has professional grade equipment at a very accessible rate. It's free, is open to anybody for booking. And for community gatherings, as I mentioned, we do a few initiatives on our side, but we would be more than happy to actually receive more of those. Although everybody needs to keep in mind that at In5 team, we don't have any musicians, so we need the community to actually help us and tell us, look, can we do this, can we do that? We are open to that conversation. We have a sandbox approach in In5, where our first reaction is always try to understand if we can be the partner for that particular activation. And a lot of what we do actually emanates from the community. So the community needs to actually come forth and tell us, look, can we do this? Can you help us get there? Can you help us achieve such result? Let's have a chat about it.
This also relates to my next question, which is about like collaboration versus competition. So in terms of the music industry, which one do you think helps this industry to flourish and allows different talents to grow even more? Is it competition between talents and different producers or promoters or something like that? Or is it actually the collaboration between different entities to work together and push for a greater picture or a greater goal? Mackie?
Definitely competition between the corporates, between the companies, because the more the companies are competing, definitely they're going to put the money that, gonna help, expand the brands for the artists, and that it's gonna help us as, promoters or arts agents to ease the situation, to bring the artists to the venues and make money. Simple.
Yeah, I think it's actually a mix of both, because as you said, when you come to business side, competition is there. That's not even a question, right? But when it comes to the community, I think having the cooperation is really important as well. And understanding that even though you're competing against the person sitting next to you, that doesn't necessarily make that person your enemy, right? You can be competitors and still collaborate. And so I think having a good balance, that is very healthy. It's a very healthy approach.
On the artistic side, I think collaboration is very key, is very important, because if you look at on the international level, so many artists got pushed through another artist and they tapped into new audiences, and then this is how people got introduced to different artists. So on the artistic side, I think it's collaborations, very key, which we don't see enough here. Like, people are just producing individually. You don't see any collaborations happening, artists helping each other grow, or an artist helping another artist tapping into bigger audience, or collaborating on getting bigger in different countries. So collaboration definitely on the artistic side, yeah, first.
Reflecting on the ecosystem in general, how do you think the music industry in Dubai is? Is it like well developed, or is it actually in the UAE in general? Do you think it's well developed and like that has all basic elements all available for it, all properly functioning? Or are we still in the phase of emerging and of actually getting there to having all elements in space and having all the support needed for all talents?
I think that, like in many other industries here in the UAE, it's a maturing stage. You do have, obviously, in the region itself, a huge history in terms of arts in general. That is, it is part of our daily lives here. But when we look at more contemporary business models, such as the music industry or more on the creative industries, this is something that is it's somewhat new at the same time. You have a huge heritage, but at the same time, the business model of it is somewhat new. So I think and as it happens as well in other creative areas, such as fashion design and product design, as we conceive these words today, the UAE is still on a process of developing its own identity as what is the type of music that the UAE produces. I think that is not a single answer still. Right, as you would say, I don't know, you go to the US, is hip hop. It's very, very attached to their identity. The very nature of the country, it puts that on a developing process, and that actually is quite exciting if you're working on that and you have the chance to actually influence that vision. You can be one of the pioneers. You can be somebody who is going to help define what that identity is going to look like years down the line. Right, you can be, I don't know, the Jay-Z of the UAE a few years from now, right? So that is, to me, it's actually very exciting in this sense. And it also, and while it might sound like the UAE is behind other places, I actually don't like that vision so much, because contrary to what you would find in more quote-unquote developed markets in this industry, here you have much more possibility of experimentation. So when you go to a market where that identity is already established, you have a set of a kind of level set expectations that you need. You need to fit in, exactly. You need to conform to a few little boxes before you can be innovative. Here, because those boxes don't exist, you actually have more possibilities to do things and to draw inspiration from these different places. So it's a give and take.
Mark, you wanted to comment? We'll move by order.
Yeah, actually, he's right about the way things are getting there in this market. But you feel like there is a lot of diversity, and then there's a lot of type of genre, and you don't see a focus, as he said, like, 'cause you're not in a country where it's developed on the hip hop, or so there's a lot of artists in this market, and then they're all from different genres, and I feel like they're having opportunities from our side on the push, and on the live. It's not there yet, because you feel like there's not much done on the offline, getting indie scene pushed specifically. We've seen a lot of events happening, but you don't feel like there's a focus on specific genre or specific music I'm just talking about the upcoming artists, not the Khalijis or not the that are well established. That's why you feel like, because those artists are like becoming, not too much, becoming a lot, and then each of them is from different genre and does not focus on one genre. You feel like there's a gap on having a platform for them offline, which is available online on Anghami, and then it's growing on the pop scene. You don't see that on the offline as UAE, having them giving them a platform to perform in specific places, and then have this spotlight on the specific genre. I don't know if you agree with me.
Mackie, what's your reflection on the music industry in general? Music industry here in the UAE, is it well developed? Is it still underdeveloping?
To be honest, there is a lot of missings. You know, like, I don't know what they call it, but that's what I feel when you see a lot of talents that they comes to you and they want to be a superstar. They always telling me like, you know, we live in Dubai and, you know, we want to be an artist and we want to shine. So this is my point. I will never believe that, because I have never seen it up till now, that there is an artist that he started from Dubai and he popped and became a big superstar. If you want to be a superstar, you have to go to the places that where it has the main exposure, like United States or the UK. You understand? You know what I mean? And after that, maybe you can come to Dubai and, you know, see a lot of shows.
So
What do you
what can we do to actually change this face? What type of support is needed here?
That's gonna come back again to the corporate business. You know what I mean? Like the competition is not clear between the corporates. That's from my point. I don't know how things go in Dubai, but as he said, there is a lot of diversity maybe in different genres that maybe they feel that they face a lot of challenges, you know, to cater everybody and do the same thing, you know, just to help the artists to grow, as he said.
I think the same answer for what's been asked in the beginning, because I feel like there's no management or teams working towards things getting done to get exposed out there. There's a lot of gap again in what needs to be done on the music side, on this collaboration between teams or culture or all these things. As a platform, we cater music in general, like for everybody. We push artists in specific market, but again, it's not only UAE. So people from this market might tap into different markets, but our role is to activate those artists and then give them the platform to go and get exposed or tap into new audiences. But again, the challenge is where these artists are trying, what are these artists trying to do, and keep that momentum of building or creating content or teaming up with management or marketing or getting stuff done and to shine, as he said. Because again, it's a challenging market, and then most of the artists are focusing to be internationally recognized before getting recognized in this market. So that mentality is still there. They need to focus on being local, and then shine in this market before looking at out there. And then, because the challenge is way bigger in the US or in the UK, especially with the music that's coming out from this market. So because you feel like everything is too broad, there's nothing focused on, or there's nothing focused on what needs to be as a music culture coming out from this market. It is still challenging. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
No, yeah, I agree, and I would just complement what you say by saying that a lot of this responsibility actually falls back to the community, because you can have as many initiatives as you want, but if the community is not making use of those initiatives and working towards improving those, if the community keeps on the back seat, let's say, and they say, okay, I'm waiting for somebody to create, I don't know, a music festival. I'm waiting for somebody to create an opportunity for me to go and be the DJ in a club or whatever that is. Well, that's going to be very hard, right? So if you don't have within the community the power of will to actually, okay, there are things that you can do by yourselves that you might not even realize some people will enjoy. You might not even realize some people will be willing to pay for it. So that's the actual moment when you can forget about the first thing that I said. You can forget about the business and focus on your art and on improving that, right? Within your own community, you don't require support of anybody to simply join up and jam, right? This is something that you can do with any musicians that you want, or exchanging ideas with other fellow DJs, whatever that is, right? But having that culture of honing your skills and improving your art and trying and developing things for yourself without necessarily waiting for somebody to spoon feed you a ready-made solution, right? And that goes as well around understanding what are the opportunities here in the city. So we see a lot. We see as residents in the UAE, we see a lot of restaurants and bars and clubs that suddenly they have, I don't know, I have a jazz festival now, right? For no good reason. And then you say, okay, this is not exactly a place that is well known by jazz, so it's definitely a marketing effort. Take the opportunity. What do you have to lose? Go there, outreach for these guys. Try to connect them before they have the idea. You can be providing a ready-made solution for them instead of the opposite. So it's a bit of a, again, the community needs to be more outspoken in this sense.
I think also, just to add to your point, Dubai, the business infrastructure here is just based on, like, mainly focusing on business 100%. Like, they just trying to, that's from the way I see it. They just want to generate and maximize the benefit as soon as possible, you know what I mean? Not looking at the long term, because you see a lot of companies opening, a lot of companies shut down quickly, a lot of, venues opening, a lot of venues shut down quickly because they always think about the short term, not looking for the long term.
Exactly, and commenting on the community, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be around like-minded people who you can exchange lots of value and lots of service with. So as you were commenting, it applies to almost everybody here. If you don't have the right people around you, you're going to be struggling a lot in so many aspects. And I wanted to actually give people some reality check, because as we know, whenever we have such events or such talks, people really quite highlight a lot on the success rates, on the successes of talent and how they actually made it big where they got today. However, many fail to actually highlight the burdens, the obstacles, and the failures these talents can actually face. So can we give them a little bit of a reality check of what major obstacles they might have to face during their own journey and how to best overcome these, as based on your own reflections and experiences you had in the market so far?
I think the best advice that I can give that is look to the music history. I mean, look at what Lady Gaga was doing before she was Lady Gaga. She was playing gigs in restaurants on an electronic keyboard, right? And then suddenly she became Lady Gaga. She managed to reinvent herself. Look at all the bands on the early 90s era. How many of those guys jumped around and formed new bands, and the band broke up, and then they get together with another band, and that became a huge success. I mean, look at the history of music, and you will find all the examples you need, actually, all the failure examples you need. But from a business perspective, I think that's more from the artistic kind of aspiration side. From a business perspective, failure is just part of the business. You cannot expect to get everything right on the first time you're trying to do something. So if you fail, try to fail as fast as possible. I think that's a good advice always. Try to fail as fast. If you're doing something that is not going to work, it's better to know on day 1 than on day 100. So try to fail as fast as possible, and try to understand why did that fail. Because a lot of the times, what people might consider as a failure is that at some point down their journey as entrepreneur, and I'm talking entrepreneurship in general now, right? At some point down the journey, they realize that, excuse me, that thing that they believed so much in, that it got them to actually start a business, it actually doesn't fit the market, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad idea, right? It's not a judgment of bad or good. It wasn't right for that market at that particular point in time. and that's okay. So as long as you get out of that experience understanding why, not everybody shares your personal view of the world. So what you think might be a great idea might not be the same to everybody else. And that's totally fine. That's not a problem. So understand that having that, taking that step back and having the right assessment of why did that fail, it can help you on your next venture. And sometimes, you just fail for external factors, things that you cannot, we don't have a huge crowd here today because of coronavirus. Who can control that? So it's about how you face the failure. If you put too much, obviously it's always hard because that entails a lot of personal effort that you put into that and a lot of time, and it's always frustrating, yes. But at the same time, you need to have a bit of a distance. Put yourself as trying as much as you can to put yourself as an outsider and try to and analyze the situation or assess the situation from an objective perspective, and then you can actually learn something.
Mark?
On the advice side for artists, I always tell them, you have to be different. These days in music, it's very challenging. There's millions of songs coming out every day. You have to be different. You have to find your way around being different than other artists. Depend on what genre you're actually singing in, or what type of music you represent. Find new ways, be unique, and then give it some time, and you'll find your way. Some people took 10 years to shine, so it's a lot of hassle. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to mention how many songs we get a day. So the challenge is there because of all the services and all the technology you have right now. Like a person can just pull a song in 2 hours and just put it out there. So the challenge is there. Find your way around it, and then the hustle, and then clearly you'll at some point you'll find your way, and then it might take you some time. On the failure, don't give up, because again, as I mentioned, it's challenging. It's very hard. Don't say I don't want to sing anymore. I don't want to produce anymore. Find your way around. Take a break. Probably take a break. Look around how things worked out for other artists, and then again, don't give up on what you're trying to do, because it is challenging. Every business is challenging. But again, you'll find your way in any industry, right?
Mackie, your advice for emerging entrepreneurs who are being challenged with some obstacles during their journeys?
I'm not going to add anything after the master's advices, but just all you need to do is just to believe in yourself and keep doing what you're doing. That's it.
And reach out to you guys for support, right?
Absolutely, anytime.
Always.
We reached out to the end of the session. Thank you so much for joining us and for all the valuable and insightful feedback you shared. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.